And we welcome you in to episode 4 of the Sports and More podcast. I'm Rick Watson. He is David Smith. It's David and Rick's podcast. We didn't have a David last week, so, we
No,
did the best we could. But now he's back. He's a very busy guy, and we appreciate him now as we break down week number 2. Good to have you back, my friend. I missed you terribly
missed you
last
too.
week.
Missed you too. Listen, meetings are fun, but they're not this much fun. So we just had an And Rick podcast, Sports and More and Rick. That was last week's podcast. No David.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, the and Rick. So great to be back on, man, and a whole lot to talk about. NFL is always gives you plenty. And
It does.
I was watching as I was watching the game, and I remind people who are fans of the game, well, the schedules may not be whatever. Find yourself a game, and it'll give you what you need. It'll give you what you need. Did we think Giants Dallas, other than the Jerry Jones aspect, was going to be great? Nope. But that game gave us tons of scoring in the fourth quarter. So we're excited to be able to talk about a little of it this week. Interestingly enough, Rick, through week 2, there are 10 2-0 teams. There are 10 0-2 teams, my Dolphins being one of them. And there are 12 1-1 teams. So make of that what you will. That is kind of where things are. Of course, the last team to go undefeated, my Miami Dolphins, 1972. And as my brother reminds me, it's been 53 years, and those rings are rusty.
You're keeping a score already, aren't you? You're looking at those undefeated teams already.
Well, listen, Rick, we're 0-2. We may be the first team in history to go undefeated and winless, the way things look. So
the way it's going.
So listen, to be remembered for something is better than being remembered for nothing. And I don't want to be remembered for nothing, meaning not winning, other than I think that was Detroit about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Wasn't it, Rick? That went 0-16? I believe it was. And so and if I'm not mistaken, was Calvin Johnson on that team? Was he on that team?
He may have been. May have been a young player on that team. Yeah.
But I think Matthew Stafford may have been on that team.
Yeah. If you go over. Wow.
How's a Super Bowl champion quarterback a team that doesn't win a game? And don't hold me to that. I'm doing this off of my weak memory.
No, that sounds right. That seems right to me. Seems like that. Seems like he may have made a reference to it as Hall of Fame speech last year. So.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So here we go. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, anyway. We'll get to it. Let's get to it. Last Thursday, I don't like the Thursday night games. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to the opponent. I think to the visiting team, and I want to see the record. I'm going to research it for next week, but it can't be good for the visiting team. Washington looked like a shadow of themselves. I mean, you get one day to prep. You're traveling all day Wednesday. The other team gets to come out. It's just, I know the NFL is going to keep doing it because people are watching it, and that's all that matters. But don't tell me again about the welfare of the players or really the sanctity of your game when you're compromising it like that. Because when's the last time we had a good Thursday night game? I can't even remember one.
Well, you're not wrong. Here's what I will say, though, Rick, and I'm not defending it because it's not defensible. You cannot defend trying to say we're looking out for players' welfare and piling games on 4 days apart. What I will say, though, is early in the season, I don't find it to be quite the advantage as it would be later in the season. So if you're Washington, if you had to play a Thursday night game, it's a lot simpler to be able to go get it done. Yeah, get it done. Your players are fresh. Now, we say the players are fresh, but as it turned out, Jaden Daniels and Austin Eckler both ended up injured in the game. Austin Eckler for the season. And Jaden Daniels, even though he had 200 yards in the game, is banged up and questionable for this week's game. So your guy is making your case for why Thursday night games aren't great, even though it was a fluky tackle that got him in harm's way. But what we're burying here is the fact that the Green Bay Packers are for real, sir. They win the game 27-18. Jordan Love throws for 292 in the game, 113.9 passer rating in the game. He was your guy, Rick. Again, you're the quarterback kind of soothsayer in this. You felt really good about Jordan Love way before everybody else did because you wanted to see him, the Aaron Rodgers fiasco finally, and you felt Green Bay was just mired in this. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And just think about it now. What do you hear out of Green Bay now? Nothing. You don't hear anything except really good football. Don't you agree? They just line up and they go get it. And Rick, the youngest team in the league for a franchise that doesn't get free agents. No one will ever want to go up here to Green Bay and play. Small city in the whole bit. All they have is the greatest in-game experience you can have, right up there with the best of them. Smallest city in the franchise, not owned by any owner. owned by shareholders, and all they do is produce. And they're 2-0 right now. And by the way, this Parsons guy that they just kind of picked up off the scrap heap, not quite. All he's done, Rick, is shake the tree, and all the leaves are falling. And don't worry about his sack total. Just look at quarterback hurries and pressures, and you'll find his impact on the game. And those DBs are loving life in Green Bay because they're going to get some strays. They're going to get some quarterback hurry passes coming their way. And if you saw Jaden Daniels, even though he completed 24-42, still had over 50% completion rate. If you saw the game at all, and I didn't find him to be very comfortable at all. And Jaden Daniels can move, and he wasn't very comfortable in the game at all.
No.
You know, and here's the other thing: they didn't run the ball very well either. So much for Michael Parsons not being able to have impact on stopping the running game. But Green Bay had dudes anyway, Rick, defensively, and I feel like for the most part, we probably didn't give them enough credit defensively in the game. And so shout out to the Green Bay Packers who took care of business in their first 2 games. First win of the season, beating Detroit handily, and coming back on a short week, albeit at home, and handling the Washington Commanders pretty handily in a 9-point win. And I'll hand it over to you after this. They have taken care of their business wonderfully. And when you think about that division, a lot of people like Detroit, as did I, but there are a whole lot more people that are very bullish. And early in the season, they were, before the season started, on the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love is set to have his best year as a pro. I think his ascension level's probably on schedule, considering, you know, he hadn't had great weapons there. Now he's starting to get those. I think Tyler Kraft's going to be another superstar tight end. He's developing so well.
Couldn't agree more.
Got a little problem in their running game. You know, Darren Jones, he's banged up. May have to. I think they just put him on short-term IR, so they're going to have to compensate for that. But definitely an ascending team, as is the team we're going to talk about in our first Sunday game, the Rams. Los Angeles Rams go to Tennessee. It's never easy to go across country from the West Coast, and 33 points on the board. Very workmanlike performance. The Rams defense is making plays when it needs to. Saw a big improvement from Cam Ward, the Tennessee quarterback. I think he's going to be terrific. But right now, the Rams, to me, David, we're seeing what a team looks like now that they have engagement from their coach, and they kind of have a sense of urgency a little bit. You know, Matthew Stafford, and his age, he's just got 60,000 yards, and maybe their window feels like it's closing pretty quickly. But they're not playing like it right now. The Rams have been very impressive to me. If Green Bay's number 1 in the NFC for me, I think the Rams are number 2 right now.
You're making a great case for a Rams team with a guy that Matthew Stafford. By the way, no back issues right now. Again, this is what preseason can do for you because you don't have a whole lot of content. Well, he's not practicing. Well, his bulging disc and all that. 23 of 33, 298. I think Matthew Stafford could throw with 2 bulging discs off of one knee and throw it through a tornado. He's just built that way. He's just a gunslinging, really solid quarterback that's gone through an awful lot in his career. And he has settled in the right place with Sean McVay, a motivated Sean McVay, who, by the way, has those guys playing really, really good. And I don't know if we give them enough credit for what they do in the draft either. I mean, you're talking about Puka Nacua. You're talking about Cooper Kupp before that. And now Devontae Adams has come back and wants to play. When I come back, he's come to them. And he had 6 for 106 on Sunday as well. And you're right about Tennessee. Tennessee, this is just what it's going to be for a while. It's just
for this year. Yeah.
I think so. But if you saw the game at all, I saw a little bit of it. I tend to see a little bit of all of them as much as I can anyway. I didn't see a whole lot of this, but I did see the Cam Ward touchdown when he was going to the right, throws it all the way back across the field to his left. But the difference with that throw, Rick, is he didn't throw it in harm's way. He threw it all the way across the field.
He did.
His receiver had to run to get it. So it wasn't in harm's way. It was an incredible throw. I couldn't even believe he got that much on it. Only 175 yards passing in the game. Tony Pollard did run for 92. I'm with you. Tennessee's 0-2. That was it. They're 0-1 at home. That was a home loss on Sunday. I think for them, this is just what it's going to be. This is what it's going to look like. And the fan base is going to get glimmers of this. And he's going to be fine. He is built for it. Everything you read about him, Rick, is that he's made for the grind. And they're going to be just fine. And this Rams team is going to do this to a lot of teams. They're going to do this to a lot of teams. And when you think about the NFC, you're talking about it being the second best team. Don't sleep on the Eagles. You know, they're still over there. But again, they made a couple of Super Bowls as well. So when you start thinking about what Green Bay's doing, you start thinking about the Eagles, the Rams are going to your point, have to be in that conversation too. They are one of 3 teams in the NFC West that are undefeated. They're 2-0, as well as the Cardinals and the Niners. And so it's going to be exciting to see how this thing all plays out in the all of a sudden rough and rugged NFC West. But to your point, Sean McVay has got them going in the right direction, and I really feel like they're going to be heard from as this thing moves along.
All right, jumping to the next game, a game I did watch a little bit of. The Bengals might be the most depressed 2-0 team in the history of the NFL. 31-27, they beat the Jags, but they've lost their quarterback, likely for the season. They're saying 3 months, but I don't think he's back with the turf toe surgery. The guys just don't come back from that. Season's over, Cincinnati. Sorry. Yeah, you might be 2-0, but there's no way this team can contend without Joe Burrow long term.
How interesting is it that all they talked about was getting off to a good start? We haven't been able to get off to a good start. And even we talked about it on your radio show, Rick, how Joe Burrow and the Bengals were so adamant about not starting off slow that they played preseason games. And everybody said,
yes,
Joe Burrow, get out of the preseason game. You remember he was running around. He was getting sacked and getting hit in the preseason games with these guys trying to make rosters. I believe it was the Washington game, if I'm not mistaken, that they played.
Yeah,
and yet he was like, we got to get off to a good start, and he's going to lead the pack by doing that. Well, what do you know? They pay all that money for Joe, pay all that for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and I understand it. And they get Trey Hendrickson signed as well, but they have not addressed the offensive line in his 6 years that they've been there, Rick, of all the things. And I'm just here to tell you, whether it's college, whether it's pro, or whether it's high school, there are two things you have to do. And I would dare anybody to find a team that has ever won that didn't have these two things buttoned up in some way, shape, or form. Good to great quarterback play, not average, good to great quarterback play, and fantastic line play. I dare you find
every time.
What are you going to do? Well, how are you going to have great quarterback play without great line play? So they run part and parcel. You can't have it. And so it doesn't have to be elite. It just can't be pitiful, Rick. It can't be pitiful. It's got to be solid enough that you can 1,001, 1,002. And Joe Burrow is a type that will hold the ball forever. So you got to block forever. And so to his, what's his greatest blessing is his greatest curse. He will take shots. He's not afraid. Unfortunately, in this situation, I don't even think it was one of those situations where he held it too long. He just got sacked. And if you look at it, you don't even really see, I don't quite see all of where it is. Maybe I saw a bad replay, but turf toe is no joke. Deion Sanders' career ended with turf toe. Jack Lambert's career ended with turf toe. And so I am talking about like, it was out for a while, it was at the back end of their careers, but it was substantial enough that they had to get out of the game. And so I hate that for him. He's a young man. He'll be fine with that. But the Bengals finally are 2-0 in the game. Interestingly enough, the Jacksonville Jaguars have played pretty well. They're 1-1. Now, Trevor Lawrence and his coach are deciding to have some issues on the sideline. That wasn't beautiful, Rick.
Just going to wave him off. Yeah, get out of here, coach.
And what's funny, Rick, is when you think about Trevor Lawrence back to his Clemson days, he's never even seemed like he's that kind of guy.
I don't understand. Is he frustrated with his own lack of development, you think? Maybe all the coaches he's gone through? Wow, that was weird. That was a weird optic.
That's very weird. And what's funny to me is if Trevor Lawrence is at a frustration level, I'm wondering if he's just feeling like this, because he should have been frustrated with some of the other guys he's had in there. And I love Doug Peterson. I thought that was actually going to be a great match. And he didn't show this level of frustration with him. So maybe, Rick, you're on to something. Maybe he's just like, bro, I've heard it 3 different times now. Urban Meyer and Doug Peterson, and you're coming at me now in the middle of a game. I'm not sure I need this right now. I'm not sure I need this. I'm the quarterback of the team. Probably a little respect issue was challenged right there. Saying all that to say, they're in a situation now where they're 1-1, and they got to get the optics of that cleaned up. And so I'm sure on media day tomorrow, everyone will kiss and make up. Tomorrow being Wednesday, as they get ready for their next game. We're happy to shout out Bashal Tootin. Got a TD, I believe. Did he get a TD in the game? I believe he did. He had 42 yards in the game. I think he got a receiving TD in the game. And he had 42 yards rushing. And for those of us that watched Tech last year, we're not surprised, Rick. He's a dude. He's a dude. Every game he played, he was good in it. And speaking of dude, and I'll hand it back over to you on this, Travis Hunter, I think, played between 70 and 80 snaps in the game, but I'm not sure they were impactful at all. Now, that doesn't mean he's not impactful. I'm sure, you can play cornerback and not really have anything happen and still be impactful in the game. And I'm be interested to see if they're going to start giving him a couple more different things. He had 3 catches in the game for 22 yards and a terrible pass interference call against him late in that game, which really set the Bengals up pretty well. He did a fabulous job in covering. And so this just may be what we see in Travis Hunter this year. I'd be interested to see if they try to feature him a little bit more on offense. But they put up 27 points against a Bengals defense that we don't think is great. But Cincinnati, all of a sudden at 2-0, and in that game, I forgot to mention, Ja'Marr Chase had 14 catches in the game for 165 yards. He's just stacking up crazy numbers already. And Jake Browning comes in the game, Rick, and held it down pretty well, 21 of 32 for 241. But that's a backup. And so we'll see how that can advance moving forwards. But the Bengals are 2-0, and they're at the top of the AFC North.
Another guy who's a dude, Lamar Jackson, and he didn't have to do much against this the Browns, the original Browns, the not original Browns versus the Purple Browns, as the Ravens won at 41-17. Lamar threw for 4 touchdowns, didn't need to run it very much because they controlled things, and it's a team that was desperate to bounce back after the collapse. 41 points almost seems like an afterthought for them. They had so many they had when they lost the other night, so they're going to score 40 points maybe every game, but the Ravens is a special thing right now with Derrick Henry spearheading that running game, and Zay Flowers is blossoming into an absolute superstar. This is still the best team in the AFC, and I don't think it's close, to be honest with
you. Listen, you're not going to get any dispute from me. The one thing that can concern me when it comes to Baltimore, because I have a wife who watches them and dies with every single play, is the slow starts. In that game, they were only up 10-3 at the half in the game, and Lamar had no rushes in the first half. I think there's times where he just allows the game to come to him. He does. There's something about that I kind of admire. He's not forcing it. So if you're an impatient person, you're wondering, when is he going to unleash? Why are we waiting? Why are we missing early on? They end up with 31 points in the second half of that game, put up 41 against the Browns. And all of a sudden, it just looked like all of a sudden guys were open. They were finding things and the whole bit. And so I'm not quite sure how to take that, other than if you're going to start slow like this, you want to make sure you've got enough in there at the end of the day to finish the deal. And the Cleveland Browns defense is number 1 in the league in yards allowed, crazily enough. You wouldn't believe that, the fact that they're 0-2. But their defense, even last year, was stout.
It was good.
Yeah. That's why it bothers me that they didn't adjust the quarterback by either getting someone in there that could be dynamic enough to get points up. They had a really good offensive line. Of course, there are some that'll say, you had a dude in Baker Mayfield years ago. What did he do last night for Tampa? I mean, he went to the playoffs with Cleveland, and they beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh, I think, in Big Ben's last game. And that wasn't enough for you. So you went big game hunting for Deshaun Watson, and that came up goose eggs for you. And now you're sitting there and you've got Joe Flacco, who's serviceable at 40, but serviceable isn't going to get it done in a division with Joe Burrow, in a division with Lamar Jackson, with those Ravens, and with Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. And so with all that being said, Lamar in the game, he's always super efficient. I think we don't give him enough credit for his efficiency in the game. He had a 128 passer rating in the game, 19 of 29, 225. Yeah. Rick, his running overshadows the fact that he's an incredibly efficient passer of the football. Very seldom puts 100%. The ball in harm's way. 4 TDs, no interceptions. 4 TDs, no interceptions. Meanwhile, the aforementioned Joe Flacco, 25 of 45, threw the ball 45 times for 199 yards. He got sacked twice. And then they brought Dylan Gabriel in late in the game. It was at that particular point, it was a done deal. So Cleveland ran for 115 yards. The interesting part about Cleveland, how great their defense is they decided that Derrick Henry was not going to do to them what he did to the Buffalo Bills. He had 11 carries in the game for 23 yards, and he earned every bit of those 23 yards because Cleveland just loaded the box and said, we're just going to put more people here than you can deal with. And so they didn't. So luckily for Baltimore, what did they do? They didn't force it. They decided to throw the football and make our guy, Zay Flowers, your newfound guy, Zay Flowers, who's blossoming right before our eyes. Didn't he, Rick? 7 for 75 yards. And DeAndre Hopkins comes in for spot duty. Every time they throw it up to him, the guy with the big hands, Clemson's own, just makes big catches. He had 2 catches for 64 yards in the game. So Baltimore, once again, they're kicking themselves because they didn't have a chance to be 2-0 right now because they blew a 15-point lead late in the fourth quarter to Buffalo on the first week. In Buffalo, that's a game I hope doesn't come back to bite them. That's one of those that you bookmark. Now they've got to go steal another one because they didn't get that one and hope Buffalo finds a banana peel somewhere. I don't know if Buffalo's going to find that in the AFC East, because Miami and the Jets in New England right now are looking up at Buffalo, and they may have that thing wrapped up later Thanksgiving as it stands. So shout out to Baltimore Ravens for being 1-1 right now, and in a lot of people's eyes, as powerful as anybody in the AFC.
Well, let's get to those Bills, and that might hurt them later on if they don't get any kind of competition from that division. It was the James Cook show today or Sunday, as opposed to being, Josh Allen getting all the accolades on that Sunday night. 21 of 32, 2 touchdowns. He can catch the ball. He's a dynamic weapon. That's why it was so important to get him signed. You know, he was very calculated about when he was going to sign. He doesn't need the reps in the preseason. He's showing it. So when the Bills can get that, and, with the Jets, they don't have a quarterback. I mean, Justin Fields did not work. He was a bad draft pick. He was a developmental guy that did not work. I think he's a pretty good dude, but there's a lot of good dudes that don't make it. Teams are just going to have to realize he's not going to make it in the league as a quarterback. I think Tyrod Taylor might be the guy going forward there, but the Jets don't have a quarterback to go with whatever else they have in place there right now anyway.
Well, I think you're right on to it with a bit of a caveat. He did get hurt early in that game, we didn't get a chance to see what he might have done, because he had an outstanding game one against Pittsburgh. But I think we're learning, and we'll get to Pittsburgh later, that Pittsburgh gave up 30 in that game and gave up 30 again to Seattle in that game, albeit some of it was special teams related, muffed kickoff returns and the whole bit. But Justin Fields, before he got hurt, was 3 of 11 in the game for 27 yards. And so I'm not sure what to make of him yet. Is he going to be more of a runner? How did he run the ball in the game? Ran for five times for 49 yards. So he may be more of a lean in that direction. The question is that going to be sustainable enough for the Jets to have enough balance to be okay? The challenge for me is he doesn't play defense. And so in the game, Buffalo got 30 points in the game, and Aaron Glenn is known as a defensive guy. He was a coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He played for the Jets once upon a time. And so the concern is to give up that many yards and points in the game, allowing 132 yards rushing in the game to Buffalo. And Josh Allen took a shot to the nose, came back in the game, and Josh Allen's Josh Allen. He still ran for 59 yards in the game, threw for 148. Buffalo took total control of that game early, spotted a 20-3 lead at halftime. They cruised in the game on a road division game. So Buffalo coming up next, Miami. They've got them at home on Thursday night. Buffalo is staring 3-0 in the pocket with a mini bye week and 2 division wins already as this thing looks. And for New York, you got to hope that Justin Fields is going to be okay. Tyrod Taylor, I have a lot of confidence in him as a backup, but Tyrod Taylor is coming up on somewhere between 13 and 15 years in the league. If you're New York, I'm sure your thoughts were to have a more dynamic dual threat situation at quarterback, and I hope Justin Fields can come back. I'm actually rooting for him a little bit, because I think sometimes quarterbacks can get maligned and they can be kind of called a certain kind of thing. I just don't know that he's been coached up yet. The Chicago thing didn't work for him last year in Pittsburgh. He was 4-2 and he gets replaced by Russ and that kind of thing. Now he's in New York. They signed him to a quick 2-year deal. Hopefully it'll work out for them as well. But the Jets right now are 0-2. And interestingly enough, they've lost both their games at home. And of course, they lost to Pittsburgh and the Aaron Rodgers comeback game last week. And then, of course, to Buffalo on Sunday. So Buffalo Bills are staring at 3-0 unless my Dolphins can come in there and hit them with a haymaker. And I'm certainly not expecting that to happen, but I certainly would take it, brother.
Well, let's get to that. We're both going to have painful recaps for our teams, the way it went down on Sunday. But Dolphins were there, 33-27. They lose to New England. Drake May had a couple touchdowns. He was very efficient, 19 of 23. And, the Dolphins you watch them better than anybody. I mean, Tua had the one pick. Game just got away from him late. Give May credit, driving him down.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel. I think, speaking of experiments that might be coming to an end soon, that might be one down there in South Florida. And I think that's something they have to look at very, very carefully. It's kind of been trending that trajectory for a while now. Yeah,
and the thing that he was able to really inspire people on was that great flashy offense, the bells and whistles, the pivots, the 70 that they put on Denver that one game. Sorry, Rick, that was an anomaly, but it was 70. I mean, that's a lot of scoring. It was like fast break football. And so you felt like Miami had to play that way. But to play that way, it puts a moniker on you that you're not a physical team. But you take what you have. It reminds me a little bit of the Chip Kelly Oregon days when he was going up against the Auburns and the Alabamas of the world. He wasn't trying to fight against those guys. He spread them out and played speed football with them. And so that all of a sudden became fast break football. And that's the way that Mike McDaniel saw the pieces that he had when he had Tua. And they went out and got Tyreek Hill. And then they started to get these speed guys. You heard the Jalen Waddle deal, and they've got Malik Washington from UVA. So they started to put speed guys in there and just started to spread people out and play fast football. Well, that's fine until you can't play fast football. But the challenge is when people take your speed away, or they decide to put Tua in a situation where he may be seeing ghosts, what then happens? And in this particular case, Tua had a solid game on Sunday, 26 of 32. He was 315. He did have the one interception, but his passer rating of 115.5, that's enough to win a game. He had 27 points in the game. Tyreek Hill had 109 yards receiving, his first 30-yard reception in a game in over a year and a half, which is hard as heck to believe. But New England came in there and found a way to get 10 points in the fourth quarter. This was a game that I thought for Miami's season, I hate to say that already, they had to win that game. They had to win that game. They go to the Colts on game one and lose 33-8 and decide that they're going to play in a way to make Daniel Jones look like the newcomer to Terry Bradshaw. And then they come home, a chance to come for a home opener against New England, a place that they normally beat New England. I think they had won 7 of 8 against New England at home, and they find a way to lose that game 33-27. So New England, and Mike Vrabel's going to get the question for Mike Vrabel is, he's the New England guy, Rick. He'll do it the New England way. The question is the New England way a way anymore to have success? I don't know that quite yet, but it's going to be the New England way with a little bit of his spin on it. And Drake May with 230 yards in the game, 19 of 23, a very efficient game, a 137 passer rating. Ramondre Stevenson for 54 yards on the ground. They ran for 122 yards. And so New England's 1-1. Miami is now 0-2, heading to the aforementioned Thursday night game at Buffalo, where things could look late early for Mike McDaniel. I think you're right. That thing right now may have run its course. And so Miami may be finding itself in a very pivotal offseason, not just with their coach, but will the new coach want the pieces that are in place? And all the speculation about Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs needing some speed, and will they want to opt for him back in? He kind of burned the building down a little bit when he left. So I'll be interested to see if they can kind of cast those things away and see what happens down the road.
San Francisco wins again. They don't have Brock Purdy. They don't have Greg Kittle. But they did have Mac Jones, and he stepped in admirably, maybe better than any quarterback that had to be forced into duty in an early season situation in a long time. Not only the Saints are very good at all in any way, shape, or form, but still you go on the road like that. Again, a West Coast team going to Louisiana. It's a good win for the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, they didn't need a whole lot of him, but it was all about Mac Jones on Sunday.
And what's so funny about that is you and I have had our differing opinions on Kyle Shanahan. But the one thing that I think everybody who watches football and watches it enough to know will understand and appreciate that Kyle Shanahan can get a quarterback to do certain things in his scheme and in his offense. He can certainly make this happen. I wasn't as surprised that Mac Jones had this kind of day, 279 yards on 26 completions in the game. Now, it is New Orleans. It was New Orleans. It was indeed New Orleans. Christian McCaffrey, 13 carries, 55 yards. I'm not sure if he's gotten back to that explosiveness yet. I'm pretty sure they were going to let Mac Jones beat him, so they weren't going to let McCaffrey kind of have his way. They were going to see what Mac did, so they probably weren't giving him a lot to work with. And so at the end of the day, to get to be 2-0 in your division with the backup quarterback and with guys banged up already, and even Trent Williams was a game-time decision. Trent Williams, he's getting long in the tooth, as one of my friends often says. But he found a way to be in there. And so for the Saints, too, the Saints are 0-2. And a lot like the Titans, Rick, Kellen Moore, first-year coach, Spencer Rattler is who they've settled on as a quarterback. He threw for 207 yards in the game. Alvin Kamara is still there. Interestingly enough, I feel like he's been there forever. He ran for 99 yards in the game. San Francisco, I feel like right now they're going to have to continue to keep pace with all these guys banged up because the Rams aren't going anywhere. And the Cardinals all of a sudden, and we talked about them earlier, Rick, if there's a team to kind of pay attention to when the season starts is will the Cardinals finally reach all this potential people talk about with them throughout the seasons, each and every year? It's going to be very interesting to see, as we start to roll through this thing. But San Francisco right now, stack up wins, buddy. That's all you can do until you can get the cavalry back. And so I think Purdy's going to be out for maybe a couple more weeks, but they got to feel real confident in the fact that they got Mac Jones under the center. He did a pretty good job last week. I'm sure New England's looking at him with a side eye, kind of going, okay. But they're pretty good with Drake May as well. So shout out to San Francisco being 2-0. Listen, they're one of 10 teams that's 2-0. You take it and do not apologize for it. And by the way, Rick, they're 2-0 away from home. That's 2 road wins as well. So last week they got the win against Seattle.
Cowboys win a shootout against Russell Wilson and the Giants, 40-37 in overtime. And Brandon Aubrey is on another absolute spectrum of existence as an NFL place kicker right now. He makes 60-yarders look like afterthoughts, and he was never in doubt on the game-tying field goal. He was even in less doubt on the game winner. I mean, that guy's a superstar. When you allow Russell Wilson to throw for over 400 yards at this stage of his career, you should never win a football game. But you talked about it this morning on the show. Without Micah Parsons, they're generating 0 pass rush. Russ had so much time on every snap, it seemed, just to pick out whoever he wanted. Dallas, that's not going to be a plan for long-term success, although they got this dub on Sunday.
Well, Jerry Jones escaped the wrath of Dallas fans by winning that game. I'm telling you, because you can imagine the chorus of boos that would have rained down on them had New York decided to not let Dak throw the ball 20 yards down the soft zone to put the kicker, Aubrey, in position to kick a 64-yarder. That is exactly what he wanted to do. And so all the Giants had to do was make it move their defenders 10 yards up so it wouldn't be such an easy throw right there in the middle of the field. But nevertheless, the fourth quarter turned out to be crazy impressive. 41 points scored in the fourth quarter alone, 21 by the Giants. And Dak Prescott threw for 361 yards in the game. As we had talked about, Russ threw for 450. I'm sure he'd love to have back that moonball interception that wasn't even near Malik Neighbors. He couldn't even fight it off. If they take care of the ball on that drive, you feel like the way Dallas had played, they were going to win the game. It was just, it wasn't really a necessary shot, but you couldn't really blame Russ because he had taken those shots and completed them throughout the game. I'm sure that's one he wishes he had back because the Giants defense wasn't holding Dallas back at that particular point as well. As we talked about, Russ threw for 450 in the game. Rick, I got to shout out your boy Javonte Williams, who's running like a new guy. I was watching some of that game. He ran for 97 yards in the game, and then I believe he got hurt with you guys, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he have injuries with you all?
Yeah, he had an ACL that he never really came back from, and they cut bait. He never really found his rhythm once again, and Sean Payton, didn't want to keep the roster spot. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think, Rick, it was a bad move because he didn't look like this last year when I saw him either. But he certainly looks like now he's got his burst back. He ran for 97 yards in the game. Of course, CeeDee Lamb's going to get his 9 for 112 and things of that nature. But that Malik Neighbors, slide over to the side, fellow LSU wide receivers, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Here's another one. Malik Neighbors, 9 for 167 in the game, 2 TDs, 48 yards was his longest catch of the day. Wan'Dale Robinson, 8 for 142. It was like watching flag football. I'm not quite sure what Dallas kind of defense they were playing. It was kind of like you score, I'll score, you score, I'll score. That's not sustainable moving forward if you're the Dallas Cowboys. And again, like we mentioned, they dodged a bullet by winning the game because no pressure on Russ. What's the one thing Russ doesn't want to deal with? Doesn't want to get hit. I never really saw any kind of blitz that really was going to impact him at all. I'm not sure that the Giants' offensive line is that great because I saw Washington the week before. They bottled up Russ and made him look old. So once again, Dallas in a situation now where they dodged the bullet, they're 1-1. They win their home opener. And then the Giants go to 0-2. And so it'll be real interesting to see because I think the Giants host the Chiefs this week, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe Dallas goes to, is it Chicago maybe? I'll have to look that up and see. But I know the Giants are hosting the Chiefs. I believe that game is on Sunday night, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to find out and see real quick if the Giants can go to 0-3 or if they can find a way to keep the Chiefs winless.
The Lions put up 52 in their divisional rivalry game with the Bears, 52-21. Big day for Jared Goff, 334, 5 touchdowns. They ran the ball. They did whatever they wanted. The Chicago Bears and their fans are dealing with some of the worst ownership and front office work in the league, and this is a team that fell for the banana in the tailpipe a couple of years ago with Caleb Williams when football people were telling the owner, no, we should probably go with Jaden Daniels. but Caleb Williams was the one being hyped, and he had a 43.6 quarterback rating. Folks, this guy's not going to make it in the NFL. I've been saying it from day one. You can keep pretending that he's this flashy new thing that's going to just work out. When you're worried each week about what the color of your fingernail polish is and you're posting that, there's no way anybody in that locker room believes he's the quarterback for that franchise. But this was about their defense as well. And give the Lions credit. They were a little angry after what happened in Green Bay to open the season.
Well, they were indeed that. And Caleb Williams this is going to be a year for them. And Ben Johnson is going to challenge him. It's going to challenge him in schemes. It's going to challenge him as a man to get better quarterback. And he said that when he got hired. And so Caleb Williams is going to have to respond to it. They're 0-2 right now. And Ben Johnson got his head beat in 52-21 by his former team. No love lost in a fun way. And he certainly didn't take it that way. He understood it was football. This is not a Dan Campbell doesn't like Ben Johnson thing at all. This was just Detroit trying to get right. They were sour after that beatdown from Green Bay. This was a division game that they needed to plant the flag and let folks know they were serious about their business. They scored 14 points in the first, 14 in the second, 10 in the third, and 14 in the fourth quarter. They kept their foot on the gas, 52 points, the highest scoring total of the season this year. This is a Detroit Lions team that led the league in scoring last year, and they wanted to let their former offensive coordinator know that we still got a few tricks here too. But I'm surprised that the Chicago Bears, monsters of the Midway, 52 points they gave up. This is a team that should be priding themselves on defense, and they just got ran through and just got thrown over. And Jared Goff threw for 334 in the game. Jahmyr Gibbs, 94 yards rushing. David Montgomery, 57 rushing. That wasn't happening against Green Bay the week before. It certainly wasn't. So the question here is this more on Chicago, or does it really speak to how great Green Bay is? And I think the answer is yes. I think it's both, Rick. I really
a little bit of both. Column A and column B.
Column A and column B. All of the above, hit all that right. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he just does his job all the time, Rick. 115 yards received in the game. And for Chicago, I guess the fans are going to have to figure out, is this a long-term play or a short-term play? Now, Caleb Williams is in year 2. They're going to need to see some signs of this thing happening before the rumbles start to happen. And fans get a little fickle in this thing, and there's a whole lot of energy around, okay, pieces are in place. They put a lot around him, and they brought in a coach. And nobody's expecting perfection, Rick, but they are expecting progress. And 32-point beatdowns are not acceptable. Now, so when Detroit comes back to Chicago, they're going to want to feel like they owe them a little bit of something here. They can't continue to take these kind of beatdowns. More importantly, a 52-point shellacking on the defensive end is not going to be sustainable at all. And so Caleb Williams, 207 yards, to your point, a 43.6 QBR on only 19 completions. It's going to be real interesting to follow the progress, or lack thereof, of the Chicago Bears, because the noise will ring out real loud in the third largest city in the country. I promise.
Good news for Bears fans. I understand Caleb's going to be wearing the teal fingernails with the gold tips. So you got that for you anyway. The Seahawks go to Pittsburgh, and this was probably, I guess, it's probably the most surprising score to me, just to see how quickly that game turned in the second half. Pittsburgh's defense started out great, and then just couldn't handle Seattle in the second half. Kenneth Walker Jr. is a terrific back, but they've got Charbonneau back there. I mean, they got a nice 1-2 punch, and Sam Darnold, who you said it this morning, and I couldn't agree more. I don't know what Minnesota's thinking. He's found his offense. He got into his flow last year, had a great year. Heck, he was in the MVP running. They let him go for basically, and then he goes to Seattle. I think it's the perfect landing spot with a young coach. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable every week like this, but they look good on the road. And coming where they came from to Pittsburgh in the middle of the afternoon at 1 o'clock, that was a really impressive win for the Seattle Seahawks, I thought.
That's a real big win. And allow me a moment to marinate on this quarterback not keeping guy situation. When you got
pointed
a guy
out,
in the building,
you were right,
Rick, when you got a guy in the building, why find reasons to not keep him? People draft and hope, and we're going to develop. And you had a guy that fell in your lap, and he won 14
and loved it there.
games.
Yeah.
Rick, he was good. He won 14 games. He bet on himself, kind of. He earned the opportunity for it. And listen, JJ's going to be fine. But why put that on him to have to come this year, Rick? He hadn't played, sir. He hadn't played. Let him get up to speed. And as it looks right now, Sam Darnold, has found his stride. I mean, this guy was a highly drafted player coming into the league.
Right.
Now, this is not some guy, and he's been in the league for a while. I mean, this guy can. After last year, I thought, and Justin Jefferson loved him, and Jordan Addison, those guys were thriving up there with him. They won 14 football games, and on the old show, Rick, we used to do the Hot Four, and the number one criteria for the Hot Four is winning games, because that's the one thing.
Right.
Winning games, that's the one thing that'll get you in the Hot Four. But more importantly than some silly Hot Four I do, it gets you in position for high seeding for playoffs and gives you a chance to win Super Bowl rings. They won 14 of them last year. Didn't go so well in the playoffs. We understand that. But Sam Darnold was the reason why. Make no mistake about it. And you think Minnesota doesn't know that now? I'm sure they do. And I'm sure they love JJ. I'm sure they do. But the learning curve when you're in there, and that's a whole lot to throw onto a guy. And they were all in on him, Rick, from even last year when the season was going on. There was no talk of keeping Sam Darnold. None. The season was going on. There was no talk of that. Seattle's like, ain't no problem, bro. We got a nice home for you. Come on out here. Get some of these jumbo crab legs we got for you and go 22 of 33 for $295. We got you, bro. Settle in. I got a good defense. I'm Mike McDonald. We're going to play nice, balanced football. Like you said, Kenneth Walker ran for 105 yards. Smith and Jigba is fantastic. He's loving life, 8 for 103. And as far as the Steelers go, Rick, talk about concerning. It's the second game that they've had this year where they've given up over 30 points. Now, in this particular game, it wasn't all on the defense necessarily. It was a balance of special teams, the unfortunate kickoff return that ended up being a touchdown. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers had the inexplicable interception in the end zone. You never see him throw interceptions at all. He didn't have the greatest of games, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a 350 or 400-yard game this year. I just don't think it's in him to do, right? No. And if he does, that probably means they've been way behind, had to throw the ball 60 times. They threw it 33 times in the game, as it turned out. And so I think Pittsburgh right now, they're 1-1, but the only win was against the Jets. And we're looking at the Jets, who gave up 30 in back-to-back weeks at home. So I'm not sure that their defense is that legit either. When you start thinking about it, although Buffalo is serious, I think Pittsburgh right now, and you and I are Tomlin fans, we feel like if anybody can get it done, he can. And he attached himself to the Aaron Rodgers deal and says, this would be the guy that can get us the offensive punch we need. And they didn't really look at anybody else much either, Rick. They were all in on Aaron Rodgers when everyone was wondering, will he sign with him? Will he not? Who are they going to go with? They were attached to him from Jump Street. And here they are at 1-1. And to their credit, they're not panicking in this situation, but right now that division is unrelenting. The weather's not going to get warmer, and to lose that game against Seattle, giving up 24 points in the second half and only getting 3, that there's calls for not panic, but I'm sure they're kind of concerned right now that they've got enough offensive firepower to match a team that supposedly was going to be built on defense that at the end of 2 weeks has given up a total of over 60 points.
Well, you mentioned the Cardinals as we get to the 4 o'clock games, 2-0, 27-22 over Carolina, still trying to find any kind of visions of success. Bryce Young threw 55 passes. That's not going to work over the long haul of the season for any team. But the Cardinals are a team playing pretty good defense up front. Kyler Murray is, he is what he is at this point. He's a guy that's going to turn over sometimes. He had a pick. He can hurt you with his feet. But I think he's maturing a little as a guy learning how to play the game. We know they've got a decent running game. I mean, I love Connor and Murray as a 1-2 punch, but that defense has kind of stood out for me in the first 2 games with Arizona.
Arizona's 2-0. They're not afraid. To me, it's the sustainability. Don't find the banana peel. For them, it seems like they'll have these great games. They'll always win a game that they aren't supposed to, and then they'll come back and lose one that they shouldn't. Right now, they're 2-0, feeling really good about themselves. And Carolina, again, they're an NFL team, so I'm not going to act like they're not legit NFL players. And they had to hold on to win that game. They did give up 19 second-half points, and Bryce Young throwing the ball 55 times in the game speaks to the fact they couldn't run the ball, and they couldn't. They only ran for 49 yards in the game. They held Arizona to 82 yards rushing in the game and kept Kyler Murray kind of in check. He threw for 220 yards. But, Rick, I'm with you. Arizona's got some pieces. I think they've always had guys, Budda Baker on the defensive end. They've got Calais Campbell came back. He's 39. I saw him get a sack late in the game. Happy for him. He was a Dolphin for a while. Calais Campbell has been played for the Ravens for a while. Everybody loves Calais, man. He still loves playing football. You got to love football. If you're 39 years old and you keep going out there and wanting to bang heads with these guys, it's pretty impressive. I think for Arizona, the key will be the unrelenting division where you got the Niners, right? You got Seattle, and you got those Rams. The key will be, can you make it through that gauntlet? Those 6 games, you certainly understand. And you and I know division games count like a game and a half in so many ways, both how you feel and how physical they can be. And that West has gotten to be really tough. So Arizona, shout out to them. A 2-0 start's a 2-0 start. It means a whole lot more. I think 0-2 starts are the type of teams that had like about 12% or 15% chance of even making the playoffs. It's really poor. And so give them a lot of credit for coming back and being 2-0 in the game and holding on to get a nice home win. And 2-0 is 2-0. Do not apologize for that.
Well, a team also not apologizing because it's been done with defense is the Eagles. Defending champs go to Kansas City. They don't do much at all offensively. 20-17. Didn't need it the way it turned out, the way they were playing up front. It's a team that's very good on that side of the football. We know eventually we're going to see the offense put it together. There's too many weapons for it not to. As long as you have, Saquon back there with Jalen Hurts, who is maybe the coolest cucumber to play the position of quarterback that I've ever seen in all the years I've watched the NFL. He's just a terrific dude, and he just goes out and nothing sways him. And at first you think it's a guy trying too hard to put on. Right. That's just who he is. He doesn't care. He had the scene there where, he was getting mouthed off to at the end, and he just said, hey, we just won the football game. Kept his voice low, when Chris Jones was running his mouth. Well, we just won the football game. So, and he picks up the ball.
Scoreboard.
That's who he is. And that guy's I'm happy for him. His journey wasn't easy. No. I liked him coming out. I thought it was a great draft pick at the time, and it's turned out to be the smartest move the Eagles have made in any draft in 5 years? I mean, my goodness.
You've been all over it. Once again, giving you your props. He was your guy from jump, even when it wasn't happening for him early on. I think they had Carson Wentz and at early on during that run, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So he didn't start right out the gate. And so, but he was your guy, and he's been this way. But if you followed him at all, he was this way at Alabama.
It
didn't go well for him. Same thing. He was unmoved by being benched in the second half of a national championship game. He goes to Oklahoma. He's in the Heisman running. There it is. He still doesn't get picked in the first round. It's a second-round pick of the Eagles. And all people want to do is say what he's not. He doesn't throw. He doesn't.
Yeah, tell me what he's not now, right? Tell me what he's not now, people.
Listen, and so here's the thing. Bill Parcells used to always say, what I don't need is a Hollywood quarterback. I just need a dude. And that's why he had Phil Simms. He had those no-nonsense guys when he won his Super Bowls. Those guys were just what they need. Just get in here, be one of the guys, and fight with them. And Jalen Hurts is so unmoved by the noise around him. And he's just an outstanding pro. And I also think credit needs to be given to when it comes to things like fit. Fit matters.
Oh, 100%.
So much. We've seen it when it hadn't gone well. You think about Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, who I thought did a fantastic job in Cleveland. But for whatever reason, Rick, they just didn't think it was enough. So they decided to move off of him. And then they go big game hunting. We spoke of it earlier, and they go chasing. And now look at them now. They have 5 quarterbacks in camp, and Baker's bet on himself. And funny enough, he even went to Carolina, and they let him go. He didn't land at Carolina. It didn't work out for him. Look at them. And listen, I'm a Bryce Young guy. He's an Alabama guy. I'm partial to Alabama. It's my Nick Saban Dolphin connection thing. And so, but you don't think Baker Mayfield, and I watched a lot of that game last night, he was absolutely throwing darts. He is just, I kind of forgot how much of a dude he is. He was the number 1 overall pick after all. And so, but back to the Eagles game, Rick, the Chiefs are 0-2. And it is not time to panic, but it is time to kind of be concerned about some of the things that you see. You can't unsee the fact that they can't run the football. Other than Patrick Mahomes, they ran for 121 in the game. Why is Patrick Mahomes running for 66 yards in the game? Why is he trying to take on defensive backs in the game? Why is he feeling the sense that he's got to do all these things? Why do they not have him have weapons? Why are we in a situation where Travis Kelce can't catch the ball on the goal line and flip the entire game, the balance of the game right there? Why does he not have receivers? Now, he's got Worthy out. I understand that. Rashee Rice will be back at some point. But why is Patrick Mahomes having to constantly look for weapons like Joe Burrow's having to have protection? Why are these incredibly wonderful franchise is missing on some of these things that you and I sitting here on a podcast can talk about. Clearly, if we know them, they know it. And so having said all that, though, Rick, several things. The Chiefs have not been blown out yet, and they've not played their best yet. And so they had a chance to win this game against the Eagles, who, by the way, they weren't excellent in the game offensively either. As much as we love Jalen, he only threw for 101 in the game, right? As much as we love the Eagles rushing the ball, Saquon got 88 on 22 carries. The Chiefs will take that 22 times. You're only getting 4 carry. You're not getting those home run hitters that can knock us out. So they were fine with that. So Chiefs defense, they feel pretty good about the game, but the Chiefs offense did not hold up their end of the deal. And right now they're 0-2. And like I mentioned, they're going to play the Giants on Sunday night in New York. Now, it would have surprised me if the Chiefs lost, not as much as it probably would surprise you, because I think those games are going to get harder for the Chiefs to win. And you've heard me say this before on this podcast and on other shows. I don't care who you are. You can look back, the Super Bowl coming up on the 60th one of them. There's a reason why after 3 or 4 runs in that thing, you start to see teams always take a step back. Rarely do they continue to be that way.
Right.
The Patriots had a decent run at it, but they had to reorganize those teams. You talk about the early Brady years. That was one thing. But guess what? That was Richard Seymour and Willie McGinnis and those guys. The back end of those guys wasn't Teddy Bruschi anymore. You started to have Gronk and the Edelmans of the world and Jason McCourty's of the world and those kind of guys. You have to reinvent yourself. And the Chiefs are still doing it with a lot of these core guys. And I'm not saying that they're out yet. I'm just saying 20 games a year, 2 and 3 seasons in a row. You got to be keeping an eye on that thing. And by the way, that AFC West is getting tough again, bro. It's getting tough again.
Final Sunday day game. 2 things can be true at the same time. A team cannot put away a game they had in hand, like my beloved Broncos, on 3 different occasions, which Sean Payton correctly pointed out. Did not convert a 4th and short, made a stupid penalty when they did get a first down that would have helped ice the game. Then they missed a field goal that would have tacked on a 5-point lead that wouldn't have made it come down to what happened at the end. The other part of it is they still should have won the football game, but the officials decided to take it away from them with a very poor excuse and very poor reasoning on the leverage call, 60-yard field goal. Never seen anything like that. You give them another chance. The kid nails it. Broncos lose. They're 1-1. Easily for any team this year, the worst loss of anybody that they've had to absorb. It's still sickening that this is happening in the NFL. No accountability for the officials. No replay on a play like that decided the game. The league is still decades behind in trying to fix issues like this, and I don't understand it from almost $1 trillion industry. But here we are.
Well, Rick, but Rick, here's the funny part: they're actually right there at it, at the resolution, and won't take the final leap because the stuff's in place. You already are using it. To me, and remember, I said this. We'll bookmark this. It's going to be this play that somebody's going to have to come back and say, any play that's a walk-off scoring situation, that's a penalty involved that gives them another chance, it needs to go to the booth. In this particular case, because that was a chance for the Broncos to win a football game. And that's a AFC game, too, that can be part of a tiebreaker. In a division right now that you're dealing with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Raiders, it doesn't matter what division you're in. Loss is a loss. These games are hard, man. It's 17 of them, buddy. And you had a chance to get a road victory in your conference, and it was taken away over a call that was questionable times a million. And so the fact that happened didn't do you well. Now, again, I understand your kicker did miss a kick. We certainly understand that, if I'm not mistaken. That could have made it. And so that didn't help either, but it doesn't absolve the fact that call was still what the call was in the particular game that you had. But several things, Rick, in the game, and we'll get on to these last 2 Monday games. Daniel Jones has found himself a place.
He has. He
has found himself a place, and I don't know that it's so interesting that the Giants are sitting there trying to find things, and they're watching Daniel Jones get rejuvenated and Saquon Barkley get rejuvenated, and you had them both. You had them both in New York. 316 yards passing in the game. Tyler Warren from Penn State, the tight end from here in Richmond, is doing his thing, 79 yards in the game. But, Rick, it all comes down to, listen, this game had a whole lot of back and forth in it. You guys were up in the game. Here comes Indy back at home, tough home crowd, and you guys had that game. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were up 28-22 in the game, and the Colts scored a couple field goals late in the game, and your field goal would have kept them up in the game. And so those are tough losses, but I'm not going to back down from the point I made. If you've got the replay in place, You need to start to maximize it, to use it, particularly in game-deciding situations. They already do it for every scoring play and every turnover.
Exactly.
And so just go ahead and execute it. They need to come up with something last 2 minutes. Everything's a review, particularly in a game-changing call like that. There's no question about it.
Well, you hear the phrase, only a face a mother could love. Well, only a game a Falcons fan would like. The Sunday night game was an absolute stinker. Glad I didn't stay up for it. 22-6.
Not much.
Bijan Robinson had a great game. Nobody else really did. It was just one of those things. And the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy took a massive step back. And I kept thinking about Sam Darnold, though, when I saw these highlights we just talked about earlier in the day. Like, well, sometimes you get what you pay for. Falcons defense played very well, and the Vikings seem to be this team now that's going to rely on this rookie, and all the momentum they seem to have with Darnold just completely out the window. Justin Jefferson doesn't look like he's happy at all, to be honest with you.
Well, and he's a very patient guy. He's patient than most receivers, but you're right. That's only going to last so long. Receivers love their catches. They love their action. They can't help by just running sprints. And JJ being out, you got to kind of wonder if this is going to mean Minnesota's going to take a step back in the division, where here comes the Lions and these daggone Packers, and you still got to deal with them. And I know Chicago is kind of trying to figure the whole thing out. One thing about Atlanta that's unique to me is Bijan Robinson is a guy. He is so good. And Michael Penix, you and I loved him coming out. But it wasn't so much the offense, and I watched a decent amount of this game. Their defense is legit. They were getting after McCarthy. He got sacked 6 times in the game, ended up getting hurt in the game. Atlanta's defense has started to pin their ears back and get after it a little bit. They had a tough loss against Tampa. Again, Baker Mayfield with a fourth quarter touchdown to seal that game in Atlanta. So Atlanta's 1-0 away from home and 0-1 at home. But Minnesota right now, it's a cause for concern after the feel-good year of last year. And listen, I root for J.J. McCarthy to be okay. And maybe they got to simplify it for him. But he sure looked shell-shocked the other night. And that game wasn't very, very pleasant at all. You're talking about Atlanta kicking 2 field goals early, and then kicking another one. It's 9-6 at the half. Welcome to punt, pass, and kick. For a while, I saw Michael Penix and Kyle Pitts. I'm thinking this thing's going to fly all over the field, but it didn't work out that way at all. So, but Atlanta's 1-1. They're holding their own in the NFC South. Meanwhile, Minnesota has got cause for concern. Rick, we're going to see how Coach Kevin McConnell can kind of rally the troops, because it's getting really interesting up there. I'm not even sure who their backup is right now. But they let Daniel Jones go too.
I don't know. Yeah, they had him too, right?
They had him, and you had a chance to also get Aaron Rodgers. There was talk about him too. So now you're back to whoever your backup is at this particular point. And what a shame. I don't know.
Might end up being me. Who knows?
Yeah.
The Monday night doubleheader, which continues to be a horrible idea for the NFL. 20-19. There are a few guys right now I enjoy watching, let his emotions carry him to a game like this in Baker Mayfield. You mentioned him earlier. Not as much as I love the Jalen Hurts journey, but I really appreciate what this guy has done and carved out for himself. Cleveland, it didn't work. You mentioned how it didn't work in Carolina, I don't know, but he rides his emotions on his sleeves, but that propels him to play the way that team needs him to. He's found his home. That team believes in him. Every time he goes down, you see the entire offensive line go over to pick him up, and that's when you know you have respect to your teammates. So they win another game. They're 2-0. Love the head coach. I've told you that. I don't know how many. I think that's the guy. If there's anybody in the league other than Mike Tomlin I'd want to play for, it's him. And I think he's got that team with the right temperament. That was a big road win for that team early in the season.
Huge, Rick. And Todd Bowles is the Jalen Hurts of coaches. He's a Jalen Hurts.
He is. Coaches. That's perfect. That's perfect.
He's a Jalen Hurts of coaches. Because what is he? He's right here. He's a flatliner. I'm not going to give you too much. That doesn't mean he doesn't have the respect of the team. You can tell the team loves him, the way they play.
They will run through a wall for him. Yeah.
And Rick, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw this is the 5th time that they've been 2-0 to start the season. The 5th time they've been 2-0, and all they've done is win 4 straight division crowns. And here we still kind of go, well, there's old Tampa. Well, there's the Eagles. There's the Rams. Even you said it. Well, I think it's the Rams, and I think it's Green Bay. No one talks about Tampa. You almost put them in 4th like we kind of do the Houston Texans, kind of same kind of thing, who ironically is in this game. Well, they'll win the division. They'll get the 4th seed. Well, here's all Todd Bowles know. Keep on. Don't talk about us. We don't care anyway. We just do what we do. Baker Mayfield, he threw for 215 last night, but it felt like more like 300 because it seemed like some of his throws were perfect. 25 for 38. It didn't seem like he had 13 incompletions. He just has that moxie about him that just inspires his team. Maybe it's the small in stature kind of guy that he is, but he's tough. I'll tell you what I was impressed with. That Bucky Irving can run the ball.
He can.
I did
He's
not
developed.
know he was that kind of dude. You still got Mike Evans. All he does is get 1,000-yard seasons. That's all he's ever done since he's coming to the league out of Texas A&M. And so you got to feel real good about Tampa 2-0. And here's the thing, Rick. They haven't played a home game yet, and they're 2-0, buddy. They're 2-0 and two NFC, not two NFC wins. It's actually a win against the AFC yesterday, but they're 2-0 with 2 road wins. And for Houston, second week in a row, they couldn't close the deal. They had the tough out against the Rams when Agumbawale fumbled the ball when Lindman punched it out on the way going down the drive to win the game last week in LA. And then this week, they had the lead and could not hold it as Tampa came down and took care of business at the end. And C.J. Stroud's not quite himself, Rick. You know, the sophomore slump has led over into a little bit of a junior slump. Now, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not quite in tune enough to know what that is.
I don't either.
He seems like the same guy. He's not really a guy that's really flashy. Just doesn't look the same. And so we got to keep an eye on that. But for Houston, they're 0-2, 0-1 at home, and both of those games could easily be wins. But no one cares about anything. You are what your record says you are.
Well, one more, and I'll admit I didn't watch a play of it because guess what? It started at 10:30 on the East Coast. Great job, NFL. But the Chargers, who I think right now are the best team in the AFC, I think they have the coach who is going to win where he could coach a team on Mars and they'd be competitive in the Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh can just flat out coach the game of football.
He is.
I think Justin Herbert's found his dream coach. They have a great running game. They have good complementary receivers. The defense flying all over the place. No, Khalil Mack got banged up, so there's some question about him. But this Chargers team, to me, David, seems like they are now going to take that next step in that division. If the Chiefs keep swooning a little bit, Broncos aren't there, and I certainly don't think the Raiders are going to be there with the NFL's all-time oldest coach leading them with Pete Carroll. But I like this Chargers team a lot. I really do, and that defense shows that you hold a team on the road – the 9 points, I don't care who you're playing. That's impressive.
I promise you. Well, they were top 3 in the league, if I'm not mistaken, in defense, total yards allowed last year on defense. And this is, for those who've been watching football like you and I do, Jim Harbaugh, it's all he does is fix programs.
It's unbelievable.
Everywhere he goes, was it San Diego State before Stanford? He goes to Stanford.
Stanford.
You know, what are you doing at Stanford? Well, I remember John Elway, but even they were like 5-6 or 6-5. They weren't good.
Right.
They weren't very good. They had never been good. I watched football a long time. I don't remember I knew who they were. I don't ever remember them being kind of anything other than Elway and the fluky play, the bands on the field and all
game,
that. That's the Cal game. And so, but he goes there and he has success. Of course, we know them closely because they played Tech in the bowl game. Andrew Luck, kind of a good player. Richard Sherman on that team too. So we knew about that. And he comes to the Niners and he gets them to the precipice, gets them right to the Super Bowl. Kaepernick, he sets Alex Smith, put Kaepernick in. All of a sudden, he's got that thing going. Everywhere he goes back to Michigan. He kind of had to figure it out for a while. Wins a championship at Michigan. So for those that knew when he took the Chargers job, for those who were watching, you knew it was going to be a matter of time. Because everybody in the league and everybody that knows football loves Justin Herbert. He's the prototypical quarterback that just needed to be cleaned up and guidance around him. And he's got that going. The people that play for him will fight for him forever. And they win the game last night 20-9. I'm not even sure if it was really that close. Now, Geno Smith decided he wanted to be a contributor to the game for the wrong team. Geno became Geno. And so he can do that at times. No, he can do that at times. He can do that at times, and he did it last night. And the Chargers can gladly take it. And so the Chargers being 2-0, of course, they got that win over the Chiefs in Brazil. And so for them, guess what? That's 2 division wins, baby. That's 2 division wins. And so they're feeling pretty good about themselves, and as they should. And I'm such a fan of Justin Herbert anyway, because he could have been a Dolphin. He was picked right after Tua. Tua goes ahead of him in the 2020 draft. And so at that particular time, I felt like he might have been ours. He has had a great pro career, Rick. Interestingly enough, he's thrown for more yards after 5 years than anybody in the history of the game. Doesn't have anything much to show for it other than the incredible comeback in the playoffs. I think he came back. Did he come against the Jaguars, and they were down
against the Jags,
in that game? Against the Jags, like 24-0 or whatever. So they're settling in, and I think you said it earlier. You feel like this team may be the one to take over your division if your guys or the Chiefs don't do it. How's that, Rick? If your guys or the Chiefs don't do it. Yeah, they're built for it.
I remember the day and the rumors started circulating, and I was like, please don't let it happen as a Broncos fan. Harbaugh and the Chargers. And then when it was announced, I remember sitting in my office and argued and just kind of covered my face like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah. That's not going to help anybody. Yeah. And sure enough, here we are.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's a division's got a lot of great coaches in it. Sean Payton and Pete Carroll, Jim Harbaugh, and Andy Reid. You can go a long way. And everybody in that division has won.
Everybody.
Bowls or national championships. They've won something. In some cases, they won. Pete Carroll's actually won both. So there you go.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, that wraps up week number 2. Still a lot to be determined. The 0-2 teams do feel a sense of urgency this week, especially the ones you mentioned that are heading on the road. 1-1, okay. 2-0, hey, lots of smiles right now for those guys.
It really is, Rick. It's a big difference between the 1-2 and 2-1. You kind of feel like, well, why would it be such a difference? Trust me, football, there's low inventory. There's not an 82-game season. There's not a 162-game season. You only get 17 of these babies. And so you're right. It's going to be real interesting to see a couple games to pay attention to. Is that Chiefs game against the Giants? You say, well, what is 2 0-2 teams? What is that going to mean? Well, certainly if you're the Chiefs, you sure as heck don't want to be. You don't want to go to 0-3 in a division where the Chargers might be 3-0. 3 games down, looking up at the divisional championship already. And so, to me, Green Bay's going to Cleveland. They got to make sure that they handle that number 1 defense. And to me, Arizona and the Niners, 2-0 teams that are playing a 4:25 game on Sunday. So it should be very interesting. Headlined by the Monday night matchup, Detroit and Baltimore. That should be very, very physical. And that could be in fact, that game may actually have as many points as the Giants-Dallas game, because Detroit just put up a 52-piece and Baltimore scored 40 plus in both of their games.
Well, it is going to be interesting. Week number 3 coming up. And, of course, David and I will always, each week, we're going to have our game picks. And we always have 5 games. We have David's top 4 every week. And it's going to be a long Sunday for me again, as my Broncos have to go to L.A. to take on those Chargers. Yay! I'm sure that's going to go well.
Super exciting time. I know you're thrilled about that, my brother. I know you're thrilled about that. 100%. Woo. Yes, sir.
Well, listen, great stuff, man. I could listen to you run down these games all the time. I tell people all the time, and I get it about, if you listen to David Smith break down the NFL, I don't know why you're watching any of the bozos on TV. I mean, he's the best. And this thing as well as anybody that I've ever talked to. And it's a pleasure to be able to sit here with you, man, and do the podcast. It's great. It's great. Even when I'm as down as I am about how we lost still, and I'm going to have that hangover all week. It's going to bug me all week. But it's great to be able to kind of use this as kind of therapy. So thank you.
Thank you too. The NFL has been my love since I was a little boy, man. Watching it in the room where I only had 2 channels to watch the games on back when it was just that. And so it's just been one of my things. Basketball is what I did. Football is what I love. And so it's fun to be able to talk about it. And we hope you guys as listeners and viewers appreciate it. Please like and subscribe and let us know if you want to participate in it too, man. We can have some fun with this thing. We've got a whole bandwidth of stuff we can do around this thing, Rick. Thanks for the shout out. Like and subscribe this bad boy, and look forward to being able to unpack these as we wrap up week 3 and head into week 4 next week.
All right, week number 4. Good luck to your Fins and the Broncos. Let's hope they don't get to. Hope the nag that goes back to Denver. Hope it's able to get back up the Rocky Mountains after the Chargers get finished with us. That's what I'm worried about.
So. Well, hey man, stay optimistic, brother. Stay optimistic. We can't leave them. We've come too far now.
No, we'll stay with them. We'll stay with them. We'll just have to stand there and go. Thought this was going to happen.
That's it. There you go. 100%. 100%, bro.
All right, my friend. I look forward to reconvening next week. And thank you, everyone who tuned us in. It is Sports and More with David and Rick. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the game starting on Thursday throughout the weekend. And we'll talk to you next time here on Sports and More. Take care, everybody.